So welcome, Mark. Welcome to the
Thank,
sandbox.
thank you for the invitation.
Oh, do you want a certain handle as your name instead of? I know you're Mark. You're Mayor Mark. Do you have like an Instagram Mayor Mark that we need to put up there?
No,
No.
that is who I am.
All right.
Mm.
Well, welcome who you are. So yeah, we always check in first, see how we're doing. So we'll start with you, seeing as you are the guest of honor today. How are you
Yes.
doing?
Oh, great. I'm on the campaign trail, which means that sleep is low, energy's high, feedback is welcome, having wonderful conversations
Mm.
all day long. How are you guys?
Karen.
I am continue to be a traveling road show, and so every week you see me in a different room, in a different home, doing something different. I've got a new word now. I'm nimble. Yeah. So I'm embracing nimble. I realize this is the universe is teaching me nimbleness. So I'm doing well, and I'm nimble.
It's funny. Nimble's a word that we use a lot in our work, but you haven't used it in our personal lives.
Mhm.
I can ping off of that. I'm having to be very nimble in my life and home and all the renos that I've got going on because it doesn't seem like I can finish one thing before the next thing pops up. And the latest thing that's popped up is rebar out of my wall. So I need to deal with that. So other projects are taking a back seat while this one, yeah, paint doesn't seem quite as important when the wall holding it up has rebar sticking out of it. So nimbleness, not a bad place to be.
Protruding rebar, not always a good thing.
Anywho, that's it for me for now. We are here having a conversation with Marc Babineau. Oh, it didn't save. Hold on. What are we doing? We are.
A conversation with Mayor and Coach Marc Babineau.
Not necessarily in that order.
All right.
Always.
Well,
They're never in order.
here we go. A conversation with Mayor and Coach Marc Babineau, small b for some reason, because I went too fast.
It's okay. I'll compensate by my presence.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Why don't you catch us up a little bit, Marc? You wear a lot of hats, so why don't you let us know where you're at and what hats you've got going on, and then we can get into maybe how things are going.
Well, I still have my work economic development hat on, managing a team of auditors, which is always great with conversations. We don't always deliver good news, so sometimes that's a thing. Um, Listen, family life is great, and we still have the doggies. We had five. We lost one not that long ago. Our Hope, which was the grandmother. So that was. It's always trying when you lose a family member that way, and in the four-legged category. Um, but the others are there as well, and they keep us on our toes and entertained, and all the affection is always helpful. And seeing as I had a little bit of time, I figured I'd continue um, with the municipal politics, and the reason why, as you know, about a year ago, I was councillor in my town, and then because the mayor left, I stepped up to the plate as interim mayor. Now it's election time. So it was decision time. Do I go again? Don't I go again? And if so, why do I go? And I've obviously chosen to go again because there are unfinished things. There are conversations still to be had. There are files still to be finished, started, expanded. That's the political realm. But more so because I want to keep taking care of a team. Because as mayor, you do not make decisions. As mayor, your agenda literally doesn't count because you don't vote. So you're asked to play a role of organizing meetings, leadership, spokesperson from the group, and then you have to defend the decisions of council, all for which you don't necessarily have a say. So it's the ultimate leadership where you have to consolidate the needs of the municipality with the agendas of every citizen and the agendas of the councillors into one direction somewhere where hopefully most people are happy. So it's a fun challenge, and taking care of people, as you know, is something that I hold dear. And my slogan: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Definitely have the experience and the education for it, but what I bring to the table is my level of care to the topic at hand, whatever that is.
So just out of curiosity, so how is like your how do you approach conversations to help support your team?
Well, listen, if I look at the relationship possibilities and action model, it applies. If you're talking about council matters, the actual topics, think about it. You have to agree as a group on the topics, on the direction that we're going, on actions. But you can't get there until you really know what everybody's relationship and what everybody's relationship with the topic is, what's important for them, nitty gritties about their history with that. Everybody's coming to the table and says, oh yeah, 10 years ago we looked at that and it didn't work. And those all pop up in that initial conversation when you start talking about a topic. You have that conversation. So that conversation for a relationship right up there is critical. If you miss that mark, it's we often say they don't go to possibilities until you've hashed out all the relationship. And we say, like, take your time. It really applies here. Because if you move too fast, it's not just failed actions. It could be millions of dollars of money. It could be impacts on people's lives. Municipal business affects 60% of all of the government decisions that affect a person is at the municipal level. They like our employees and us, like we can't hide either. You can hide in the provincial government. You can hide in the federal government. You can kind of do your job and not interact. For some people you have to, but most people don't. In the municipal government, everybody is hands-on with the public all day, every day, no matter what job they do. From putting water in the flowers on the telephone poles to the frontline receptionist to our CAO to the people who handle the transactions and the bills to the counselors who are out there in the community, conversations occur on actual topics of interest and impact and importance for people. So that relationship and making sure that we understand what it is important to them and capture that what request they haven't made yet is critical. And then gets easier to around the table talk about the possibilities and then move into action through motions. And now you feel that you've considered everything and you've addressed all of the ifs, ands, or buts. So we play that game quite a bit in the possibility side. So it absolutely does come up. And just take, for example, another place it comes up, just take, for example, public complaints. I mean, we get public complaints, legitimate. They're all legitimate because they're a complaint. And you know, behind every complaint, there's two things. What are they? Something that's important to them and a request that hasn't been made yet. So we treat, with that perspective of relationship and that handling complaints, we treat complaints quite differently than we used to with this lens on it. Saying, okay, there's a complaint, but it's not just about the complaint. It's not just about the person who's making the complaints. It's what's behind that. And we're all getting much better at asking questions. Well, tell me what happened. Tell me how this showed up. Tell me what impact this has in your life. What would you like? If it wasn't like that, what would it look like? So we handle those every day. Now, Do we all succeed right away? Sometimes we forget. Sometimes but we bring ourselves back into, okay, we have a person in front of us who's bringing themselves with them. And now they're trying to tell you that there's something critically important for them. So the level at which we listen, slow down and listen and realize that there's a story behind this, there's something behind this, really helps us in handling the complaint. Actually, sometimes we don't even have to handle the complaint. Sometimes it's just listening and saying, there's not much we can do about that, but we really understand what you're saying. Let's see what we can do in the future about that. Sometimes is enough. Sometimes it's more than enough. They say we've never been listened to that way. So that absolutely shows up. We get to live our PA every single minute of every single day in all our conversations. Now, the last part of this, because I said it was complex, is the dynamics between the counselors, the dynamics between the counselors and the employees. That can be tricky. So when we're having these conversations, respecting where the other one is, having that relationship possibilities and action conversation, it makes for much, much clearer conversations with expectations on the table, with possibilities on the table, flushing everything out. When somebody feels like they've been wronged, we can say it and we can be compassionate towards that person, and they can be more open instead of having the behind the scenes, oh, Mark said this and I don't really agree. They get an opportunity to talk about it in person, because we really get to realize that at the end of the day, we're all people having conversations, bringing ourselves along with our perspective. And that requires some care.
It's funny, Mark. Every time I had like a follow-up question, you would answer the question before I would ask it, because I wanted to ask. So how do you get the team to row the boat in the same direction? Because everyone's got different ideas. And then you answered that. And then I was like, okay, well, how do people feel when it is that you are able to give them space to be heard? And you're like, I answered that one. And then whatever the last one was, I can't remember now. It's like you put them all in place before I could ask the next question.
Well, listen,
I have one.
Go ahead.
If I can understand, this is a year that you've been with your team?
Yeah, I've been with the team for 3.5 years, but I've been mayor for 1.
So I'm curious to know, how did you organically bring them along? And what's been the toughest part of the process of just navigating, like we talk about our hardwired ways of being in this kind of environment?
I guess that's it's going to be an amazingly easy question to answer. Bringing them along, the day that we had to jump into action because the mayor quit, the first thing I did was I called everybody and I said, this happened. And I said, I'm being asked for an interview with the CBC. Do you want to be part of the interview? And they said, we're going to be there. And everybody showed up. And we had a little powwow before. We talked before. We had a conversation on expectations. And my first question was, you can say, even though I was deputy mayor, you can appoint somebody else. Do I have your support? And it was a yes. I said, okay, well, here's my commitment. I speak on your behalf. So I need clarity on what you want to be said. So we're going to be having conversations. And that way I'm clear when I'm speaking outside of these walls on what you want me to say and why, because the why is important. That day, I didn't get an interview with CBC. We all got an interview with CBC because we showed up as a team, and everybody was open to speak, and they did, and it was amazing. That was a very good foundation of trust between all of us, that we didn't orchestrate anything. It was just simply, we're showing up as a team as we are, and you feel free to speak. I may be the spokesperson, but we all have a voice. Since then, it's been every single topic gets talked about. And you might only imagine there have been some tricky ones, both from the external, both from the stresses that we live having to make the budget work with limited resources, and we went through a freeze as well, where the money we get has been frozen as to how much more we get every year. So even if the tax rates go up, we don't get more. So the budgetary constant, everybody's priorities, having to deal with the public, everything gets talked about. Everything, nothing gets hidden away. Otherwise, it's a pressure cooker. It's a pressure cooker. That's your fault, Karen. You made me a metaphor monster, so now you get the pressure cooker metaphor. But a pressure cooker just cooks and cooks and cooks, and if you open that too fast at the end, then it just hits the ceiling. So the pressure cooker has a certain process to it. You got to respect the pressure cooker. You got to respect that sometimes things are going to boil in there, and the pressure increases. So there's a little button on top. You got to press and say, okay, let's wait a minute. Let's let this brew a bit. Now let's open it. Let's be careful, and let's respect the tool. So we respect the tools of conversations and making sure that we have those conversations. If there's a level of complexity, it's that every one of our conversations is public. There are no hidden meetings anymore in municipal life. Everything is public. So that means that we need to be very respectful. We also need to be very concise and but also very thorough at the same time. It adds for a little bit of complexity. But I mean, getting them to work together, once the atmosphere, the environment is built on, you can say what you need to say, and a lot of the other people don't take it personally, and they actually get curious about why they said what they said instead of getting offended by it. It allows for a lot more clarity. I mean, do we still get, oh, why'd you say that, and get offended? Absolutely. But we can snap out of it. And it's more of a group thing than me having always to say, okay, let's calm down, let's be respectful, let's follow the protocol. It's more of a group thing now.
Now, I assume, okay, you know the tools, but does your team know the tools?
So intentionally they do, by repetition, but they've also seen, it's funny because did they do any formal coaching conversation practices on the RPA model? No. A few of them, I've talked to them because they get a little curious. A couple of them got curious on how you manage to get these difficult conversations with the outcome that you get. So I reveal it and I say, this is how we do it. And it's natural, and it's now natural. But it's funny. It's now natural for them. It's not uncommon for somebody across the room to say, well, what are you afraid of? And why I said it was going to be easy, they are practicing open-ended questions. And sometimes it's like a closed question comes in, and I think it's not going to be supportive. So sometimes I'll say, okay, that was a yes or no answer, and you got your answer. If you had another question to ask, what would it be? Think of an open-ended question. What do you really want to know? What do you really want to know? And I ask that question often, and they say, well, I want to know what impact this is going to have on our tax rate. Okay, there's your question. That's an open-ended question. Is this going to increase our tax rate? Maybe, yes or no. Those are the three possibilities you're going to get. How is this going to impact? We're now looking into degrees, mitigation measures, options. See, it opens up a whole thing, but it's funny how organically now they do it. So they catch themselves doing an open-ended question. Sometimes you say, which budget item are we getting this from? It's a very specific answer. But very often it could be like, can we afford this? Which is way more open.
Or what can we afford?
What can we afford? When can we afford it?
What I think, as I'm listening to you, this is what I'm picking up here, Marc, is I feel like like you're planting seeds. You do that by just, inviting in or modeling or how we show up. We talk a lot about this in the coaching work, that this is inside work. How we show up affects the impact of inside others. So
Mhm.
like the way you're doing this and how you're inviting in other ways, just by being, you said really early on about being curious, and you're creating curiosity and an openness. So whether you do it formally or someone that says, how are you doing that, like there's something that you do there, and maybe you teach them the RPA. I would sense you're discerning, does this need to be like a piece if I share the tool, or is it just where I invite it in little bite size, in the moment conversations, which is what our changing the conversation coaching practice theories is you put it in where it fits. It's not a cookie cutter approach.
The same thing applies. Like there's another tool I didn't talk about, but it definitely applies. And I know it's coming up in one of your conversations, is the feedback model. And that feedback model is so critical. I have to get into a meeting this evening, and there's going to be a closed portion where I have to kind of bring back certain deviations from what we see as being acceptable behavior on social media posts and various things and Privacy Act. And using the feedback model is going to be my go-to in saying, okay, how is this going well, tricky, and do differently in approaching it, because there are some people who are going to be targeted by this conversation, or they're going to feel targeted by this conversation. And it's using the feedback model, I think, is going to serve well. I know it served well in the past when we had to do even firing people. We've used it in the feedback model. So it is a very, very, very strong conversation tool for those difficult conversations, and providing authentic feedback and making the person feel that it's not a blame game. It's an authentic feedback and a conversation. I don't want to steal your punch on the feedback model. It's coming up. So
well, if you want to attend the feedback model workshop, use the QR code and sign up for the next week's feedback model. We did not stage this. We haven't even talked. Marc, when was the last time we spoke?
Oh, it's been a few months. It's been a few months. It's been months. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I have a
but I feel like it was yesterday.
Of course. We've been together for a trio for 13 years, 14 years. I have a personal question for you. I know that part of wanting to make a difference in impacting others has always been very important to you. You care about people. How's this nourishing you?
I'm going to say every single conversation, because I wasn't expecting any competition. I was expecting to be in by acclamation. And at the last minute, 24 hours before the deadline, another candidate appeared, which triggered me right away into holy shit mode. But then
you can say it's just YouTube. We're good.
But the opportunity switched, where I now get to have thousands of conversations with people on what's important to them, and authentically get curious about why it's important to them, what's important to them, and what would an outcome look like. And there are even some that just saying it makes them rise up, feel that they're contributing and that they're being listened to and that it's going to make a difference. And that is fueling. That being able to give that people that power of consultation, of being heard. So many people today say we don't have a voice. Nobody listens to us. Even if we speak, nobody listens to us. So being part of that movement that actually says, no, I'm here. I'm listening to you. If you have something now, give it to me. Or my number is on the back of that card I just gave you, and you can call me. Some do. Some do. And some talk to me right there, and some call later. And it is just amazing conversations. Now, there's the upsides and the downsides. Some are complaints, so being able to handle those complaints successfully, and when I mean successfully, I mean from their perspective, not mine, is very, very, very fulfilling. I mean, some stories I can't say without starting to cry, but I've seen people who are absolutely struggling in today's financial economic difficulties, and never mind political politics, we stand there at the door and talk about their life as much as they want to. I'm surprised at how much some people want to share, and then being able to offer some type of solution when I can is just an amazing feeling, and that fuels me to keep going, because I don't know what the next door is going to bring, what the next person is going to bring. No matter what they say, it's about them. It's there you go. It's typical coaching. It's not about me. I'm saying please vote for me for mayor, but it's not about me. It's about them.
I just want to highlight something that I've noticed throughout this entire conversation. I haven't noticed a rush to action at all. It seems like, and tell me if I'm wrong, you are hanging out in relationship, I want to say like 80-90% of the time.
Absolutely.
Getting clarity, getting focus, feeling heard, understanding their why before you even get to potentials and possibilities. And maybe there's some advice giving at the end. Maybe, I don't know. But it seems like that's where you're hanging out. Am I mistaken?
No, you're dead on. It's I like the thing that now it comes naturally, but it doesn't. It's through practice. And the term practice makes permanent really applies, because that's when it becomes your muscle memory, where I authentically get to ask open-ended questions and get authentically curious. And authentically curious means you're not rushing things. You're right, Ian. You're not rushing it, because there is no rush. And the solution is usually much clearer, much faster, much more durable, much more doable after it's been flushed out through relationship and possibilities. It's, and I say because you do know, but it's great to see people feeling it and experiencing it and being part of that conversation where it's not a rush conversation. I mean, I've got 2,345 voters. Sorry, double that. I have that many doors. Sorry, the real data is 2,345 doors, and I'm trying to do as many as I can. And I get caught between rushing to do as many as I can versus taking that half hour to stand in the doorway and talk about whatever's important to them. So no, it's not being rushed. It's if I don't get to them all, I don't get to them all. I will at some point, hopefully. But it's about whatever's happening right there.
I'm just picturing you on a cul-de-sac, and you're there the entire week. I'll be back tomorrow. Don't worry, I'm coming. Seeing you.
Please sit food. Marc, we saw you coming in our neighborhood, but you did 2 doors and then you left. Yeah, it was dark. No, it's lucky, and I do get to do this with my wife Carla, because she's my driver, and for her, because sometimes I'm a half an hour in the house and she's waiting in the car. So she's my number one fan, and I appreciate that. I couldn't do this without her, and and she gets to witness all this as well, and she gets to hear at times some of the, because it's not all complaints. We get a lot of praise saying you're doing a great job, please continue. But again, that's not about me. Then the question becomes, okay, what do you like? What causes you to say that? They say, well, we really like this or this or this, and that's not what I thought they were going to say at all. I'm so glad I asked the question, because it wasn't at all what I thought.
That's like a reverse version of feedback, right? Where you're actually asking for the information you need to get better or to understand where you're doing well. That's a cool way to integrate feedback.
And it's also,
we know getting examples and specificity is
Hmm.
really important. So you're aware, you're again, your curiosity going, this is open. I'm going to go into this store, even though they're saying thank you to me. I'm curious about specificity of that, so I know what they're saying.
Mhm.
Lovely.
There's less, yeah, there's less and less people getting involved in municipal politics.
Yeah.
And a part of it has to do with some of what they figure they have to endure as part of the
Yeah.
job, which is the complaints and the feedback and some of the aggressiveness. But it's all also part of not taking it personally, because if you're standing there
Do
and
you have a
somebody's
book,
giving
Mark?
you
Do you have a
complaint,
book on that?
well, it's kind of a long time running, but it is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Um, but it is a book in the making, and of not taking things personally, because if you're going to take everything personally, then you wouldn't do this, because it would be too hard. But understanding that whatever you're receiving is coming from their perspective, it's about them. If that's why I asked the question, if it's a complaint, well, what's important to you? What do you need? What would success look like? What requests do you have for me right now? And if it's all positive, it's also not about me. Mark, you're doing a great job. Thank you. What are you liking about it? Because
Mhm.
it's also not about me necessarily. I could have the same topic on road patching, and this person really likes what we're doing and this person doesn't, but there's different perspectives, but it's the same road patching. Okay, it's the same thing. So what is it you like about it? Was it the timing? Was it whatever it was? So that's fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating, how when people, whether it's positive or negative, um, come back. Now, so far, it's been wonderful, because I haven't met one single person on the campaign trail that's voting for my opponent. So either everybody's lying to me, or they really like what I'm doing. But even the ones who have complaints, when they get to vocalize them, they say, "Well, I'm not happy with what you did, but I'm still going to vote for you." And part of that, to come full circle, very often is because you came at my door and had a conversation, because your phone number is on the website and we can call you.
Mhm.
You're not hiding behind 20 people to get to you. You are available.
This is where you insert the catchphrase, Mark. It's not
It's not. It's
how
not
much.
about me.
It's not how much you care.
Oh, it's not. It's not. It's not about how much you. It's people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Sorry,
And that
wrong lead
is
in.
so true. It's so true.
Damn it, I
But
screwed it up.
people,
But that's
but
what I
people
meant.
don't. But people don't. I mean, I bring some experience, like I said, and some knowledge to it. But people don't care how much I know about law enforcement until they know how much I care about the situation that they're in.
But I think what I was seeing there is, even though they're maybe not super happy with whatever, you show that you care. People can feel that. You can't fake authentic time and conversation with people.
No.
You know when someone's fake, and you know when someone's real. And if you're actually showing compassion and hearing them out and letting them go through their spiral of whatever they've got, the complaint that they've got going on, if they feel heard, that's I imagine that trumps almost any action that you can put out there.
It does. It does. And I mean, you still hear, "Oh yeah, politician, you're going to say what we want to hear," and then that'll beg the question: Well, what is it exactly you would like to hear? So I'm not going to live, but what is it that's important to you in that respect? I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I want you to tell me what you want to hear. It's
Mark,
fun.
I don't
Fun.
want to pat you on the back too much, but you are like the example of how a leader should lead in my view. And I haven't heard any of this. So hearing how you integrate the what we consider to be the coaching practices that we use in our conversations, like you're modeling that nonstop. And you don't have to be a coach necessarily to use the tools that we are sharing. And it just shows to me, to Karen, that you're a real world example of how you can integrate these tools in conversations that matter anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be on the coaching conversation, like booked time where we have 45 minutes to go through your problem and figure things out and send you on your way with a 2-part plan. It's day to day, moment by moment, 20 minutes at the door, or in a council meeting when someone raises a complaint.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a big thing.
Well, that's what
Thank you.
embodiment is, right? It be like you said something a couple weeks ago, Ian, and it never left me. You just said like about coaching is I'm not a full like it's not who I am. It's part of what I do. But embodiment means it starts to just show up when it's necessary, when it's valuable, when it feels like it's the right moment to bring it in, and that's embodiment. And so your practice is on full duty right now, Mark, because your primary role is to listen. And when we pick that up and we learn how to listen differently, and just to build on another kind of thing that I heard once and it stayed with me for a long time, and I try to remember this, is people won't remember what you said. They won't remember what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if they aren't happy with what you did as whether it was you or your
road patch job,
it's how you show up and how you make them feel. And that's why people vote. It is truly about I trust, because this is, you said the trust word as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have to go to the, make a choice on that ballot. Who do I trust?
Mm-hmm.
And it's built on a relationship. It's built on authenticity, all the things that you talked about. And I'm just so happy. I just want to say this, because this has been something you've wanted to do, is to make your work into getting involved in the bigger world of politics, to make a difference. Right now it's in your community, and I can see you making a difference in our country, but because there's a ripple effect of this. And I'm just really happy to see that happening for you. And I'm really happy for ourselves, because we need this kind of leadership presence in these times even more now. So thank you
especially when we have an example of maybe the worst version of it south of us.
Yeah.
Right. And this seems to be the best version of it from my point of view, north of there.
Well, I'm going to say thank you for the comments, but more so thank you for the opportunity to practice, because we've been working together, and that practice that we've had together, the practice and practicing, because they're two different things. The practice is the actual work, but the opportunity to do the practicing of this helps to make that muscle memory grow and really become that reactionary mode of being there, being present, listening, asking open-ended questions. It is hard for a lot of people to go there because some things are uncomfortable. But when you practice, and you trust the model, and you trust the idea of being open, that's what you both gave me so that I can do this. So kudos to you two for embedding that into me, and the metaphors and everything else. But it's something that it just raises the value of what you do in the community, because I'm sure that I don't know if you're there yet, but in your minds, I hope you can walk away from today's conversation knowing that the seed that you planted in me, that grew and made me in a position where I can transfer this intentionally and also unintentionally in my conversations. The conversation I'm going to have tonight with that person who has an issue is going to be way more pleasant and productive because of what you do.
I don't know what to do with that.
Well, we can only say thank you, right, Ian?
Yeah, I struggle with those. Yeah, thanks.
Well, Mark, thank you for carving out time for us in these times for you. We enjoy your voice and your presence and everything you bring to us.
Thank you.
Any plug that you need to make, Mark?
No, I mean, listen, if you're in my community, vote for me. I really want to ask for your vote.
What community is that?
The beautiful town of Chandari. there's a story about Chandere. It's a beautiful story. But it was great, and I appreciate it. And this happened between a debate and a council meeting. So high energy, high stress today, but this was my playtime in the sandbox. So part of the stress and the debate is over, and the stress comes in after, but I'm really appreciative of this opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks, Marc.
Thank you again.
Good luck
Thank
and
you.
take care.
Thank you.